Moments on air.
We have to talk about Donald Trump. He's a big character in the book because
he's a big character on my show.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You say one of your best guests ever.
Donald Trump, hands down, whenever you put him on the air, now this is before he was running for president, he was an open book. He would say anything. And, you know, oddly enough, during the campaign and even now, people quote these interviews that I did with him big time. I was quite surprised when they dragged out every single Donald Trump interview I had done. And in some ways, I felt it was unfair to Trump because, like, for example, they were fond of quoting that Donald Trump had said something to the effect that STDs were his personal Vietnam. But really, it was in a very joking scenario. He was not comparing his life to a Vietnam vet. It was ha, 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 and this and that. But when journalists took it and made it serious, I thought it was a little bit unfair. Having said that, though,
Donald Trump continues to try to block the deposition of Pam Bondi. Trump has been working with House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, and they are now saying that Pam Bondi will not sit for a video deposition. What she will sit for is a, quote, transcribed interview, but she doesn't want to be on camera. She just wants to sit for a transcribed interview. And get this, the Trump regime is going to utilize a top DOJ lawyer who's going to now pretend she's working in her personal capacity, not as the top DOJ lawyer, to represent Pam Bondi. Yep, they're saying that Harmeet Dillon, who is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights within the DOJ, it's like the number 3 position in the entire DOJ. She says that she's basically going to transition for purposes of this transcribed interview to her role as a private lawyer. She still has a law firm in California, and she will be utilizing the Harmeet Dillon law firm, and she will be the lawyer in a private capacity, she says. And that's who will be representing Pam Bondi at a transcribed interview. But they do not want this on video. They're trying to set terms to keep this very short. They are running scared. And it's frankly unprecedented in the entire history of the DOJ to have a top DOJ official saying that they're going to be representing somebody in their capacity as a private lawyer while they're a top DOJ official, yet alone the fact that it's the former attorney general and the former head of the DOJ. Are there any conflicts that this Trump regime is not willing not only to engage in, but embrace and tear down the complete credibility of the DOJ, which, face it, was frankly destroyed a long time ago? Democrats are calling out this stunt, and Democrats are calling out Trump in public for what they're doing. What the hell is this? So here's what we learned this morning, that hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
There is something the President of the United States cannot make go away, no matter how hard he tries. It is sitting in a digital archive on a website called TrumpOnStern.com. It is sitting in the Sirius XM vaults. It is sitting in the Howard Stern Show production library. It is hours and hours and hours of tape. Audio recordings from the 1990s, from the 2000s, from the years before Donald Trump entered politics, from the years when Donald Trump was just a New York real estate developer who called into the most listened to radio show in America to talk about, in his own words, his sex life, his marriages, his money, his ratings of women, his daughter Ivanka, his bankruptcies, and a very nice Russian gentleman who paid him $100 million for an apartment. Howard Stern has it all. According to the TrumpOnStern.com archive cited in this video, Donald Trump appeared on The Howard Stern Show many times before being elected president in 2016. The site documents the calls, the interviews, the on-air confessions, the bizarre bingo game guest appearances, the 1993 birthday party where Trump appeared with Jerry Seinfeld, the Apprentice promotional appearances where Ivanka and Don Jr. came on the show, the 2007 segment where Trump talked about his dealings in the Middle East and complained about George W. Bush, the post-9/11 phone calls, the bizarre conversations about fights between Stern's staff, the recurring conversations about Trump's relationships with women, with Stern, with the press, with what Stern in 2025 called the people Trump despises most, his own MAGA voters. And now, in early May 2026, with the President of the United States at 34% approval, the lowest of his second term, with the Iran war in its 67th day, with Spirit Airlines collapsed and 14,000 American workers unemployed, with 5,000 U.S. troops withdrawing from Germany, and Trump promising a lot further cuts, with gas prices at $4.46 a gallon, the highest level in nearly 4 years, according to the ALA data CNN reported this morning. With Trump's own niece, Mary Trump, on every podcast in America describing his apparent dementia signs.
Donald Trump would come on my show, and this is why he was great. There was no filter. I go, Donald, Angelina Jolie, she's one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. She's a 6, you know. Now, who says that? Most people, if they're having that thought, keep that pretty guarded. Not Donald. He was right into it. Ivanka Trump.
You know who's one of the great beauties of the world, according to everybody, and I helped create her? Who? Ivanka.
Most beautiful girl in the world. I would marry her. These types of things, most people, certainly politicians, don't say.
Well, no question about it. Do you feel that in some way you helped make him president?
Absolutely. Because Donald would come on my show. I mean, look.
Does it make you feel bad or good?
Well, look, I did not vote for Donald Trump. I go into great lengths in this book, and I think people will be interested in this. Hillary Clinton.
House Oversight Democrats revealed in this new letter that the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, again, the number 3 person at the entire DOJ, who basically sits directly under Todd Blanche right now, Harmeet Dillon, is representing Pam Bondi in a proceeding before the committee in her personal capacity, not as a DOJ, because the DOJ can't represent her, and the DOJ should be focused on exposing the criminals in the sex trafficking ring, revealing what happened, not continuing this damn cover up. And of course, this raises ethics concerns. And not only does it raise ethics concerns, they don't want Bondi to be videotaped either. Folks, red flag, red flag, red flag, right? I mean, everything this Trump regime does is transparently crooked. This is the most crooked regime ever. Okay, here's the letter from earlier today from the Democrats calling out James Comer, Trump, Bondi, Harmeet, this whole crew. Dear Chairman Comer, as you know, on April 29, 2026, over 2 weeks after former Attorney General Pam Bondi failed to appear at her April 14, 2026 deposition, Oversight Democrats introduced a resolution to enforce the committee's bipartisan subpoena. In response, your staff announced to the press that you had secured an agreement for Ms. Bondi to appear on May 29, 2026. Just pause for a second. I will show you where the House Oversight Committee and James Comer's, the Democrats are just a bunch of drama, because Democrats introduced a contempt motion, not drama, to hold somebody damn accountable who's covering up a child sex trafficking ring. That's what the Democrats were doing. And so Republicans we already secured her appearance May 29th. So you would think that would mean an appearance for a public hearing so we can all see Pam Bondi squirm, so she can be deposed on a sicko cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring. Donald Trump's constant taunting of Iran has backfired as a major escalation event just took place. Iran has officially struck a port area in the United Arab Emirates, also after striking a South Korean ship as well as a UAE ship. Now, this follows Donald Trump saying that the United States was entering the Strait of Hormuz to escort ships. CENTCOM posted that 2 U.S.-based ships had been transiting the Strait of Hormuz. This followed Donald Trump's social media post saying that the U.S. Navy was going to head in and escort ships, to which some members of the United States military at a leadership level tried to pull those statements back and say, no, we're just going to be providing some guidance and logistical support to ships already in the Strait of Hormuz to help coordinate when the Strait of Hormuz opens. According to Iran, they saw certain moves that were happening in the Strait of Hormuz that signaled that the U.S. was working with the United Arab Emirates to bring some of these ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. And then the UAE took action by striking this port city, which I'll talk about in a second. It holds a lot of significance, and I'll explain why. And also it hit two ships that Iran said was trying to exit the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this specific port city that was just struck by Iran is the Fujairah port. You see it right here on fire. There's no dispute that this port was struck, and it's been the only remaining UAE oil export outlet, an endpoint of a pipeline that the UAE built to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. And so Iran striking this area so that you couldn't have the oil bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Here's additional photos of that port in Fujairah on fire. There's also a petrochemical plant there as well. So as I noted at the
with Marjorie Taylor Greene declaring MAGA dead at the Ron Paul Institute, with Robert De Niro leading a nationwide May Day economic blackout, with Stephen Colbert 17 days from his final Late Show broadcast, with Jimmy Kimmel under direct FCC threat over Disney's broadcast licenses, Howard Stern's 3 decades of Trump audio are circulating again. According to Breaking Point's coverage from earlier this year, sourced through Crystal Ball and Ryan Grimm, creepy Trump audio from the Stern archives has been resurfacing as the Epstein fallout deepens. Audio of Trump being inappropriate with women on Stern's show. Audio of Trump rating his own daughter Ivanka, and we'll come back to that. Audio of Trump making comments about teenagers, about beauty pageant contestants, about the 13-year-old daughter of his then-friend Howard Stern. Audio that, in the context of Marjorie Taylor Greene's testimony that Trump told her his friends will get hurt if the Epstein files came out, lands very, very differently in 2026 than it did when it was first broadcast in 1993, 1995, 1997, 2001. That is the moment we are in right now, May 4th, 2026. The President of the United States is publicly fighting with a 71-year-old SiriusXM radio host who has more recorded audio of him being inappropriate, narcissistic, and openly contemptuous of working-class Americans than any other journalist in the country. And Donald Trump is, predictably, losing his entire mind on Truth Social, calling Stern a beta male, calling him low-rated, demanding SiriusXM cancel him, falsely claiming Stern's show went down after Stern endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016. None of it is working, because Howard Stern, like Robert De Niro, like Stephen Colbert, like Jimmy Kimmel, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Mary Trump, like Whoopi Goldberg, like Bill Maher, like every brave voice on this channel, Howard Stern has nothing left to lose. He has 71 years of life. He has a $500 million SiriusXM deal he just renewed in December 2025. He has 20 million daily listeners at his peak. He has 30 years of personal phone calls and on-air confessions from the man who is now President of the United States, and he is using all of it.
You know, like in Moby Dick, I was chasing her. She was my obsession. I wanted to see Hillary Clinton win, and I thought if she had come on the show, the way I helped Donald was I let him come on and be a personality. Whether you liked him or not, people related to him as a human being. I wanted to do that for Hillary. The big knock against Hillary, especially with some of the male audience, was, we don't like her.
And you could feel that on the air.
I absolutely could feel it on the air.
And all during that time, you do write about this, you're trying to get Hillary Clinton on your show. As you said, she's afraid of you.
Hillary Clinton's afraid of me, and justifiably. Look, she's got a big campaign. She doesn't know about I'm in therapy and doesn't know that what I really wanted to do, I didn't want to ask her about her sex life. I didn't want to ask her about Bill Clinton and his affairs or any of that. The woman has devoted her life to public service. Why? What is it about public service? What is it that drives her? What was it like when she saw when her husband becomes president? Was there envy there? What was her climb? I thought that perhaps if she came on my show, we could have stripped away some of the pomp and circumstance or the tightness that comes with running for president. And like Donald, she could have been seen in a different light.
But they're like, okay, you want to do a video deposition, then do a deposition under oath. We'll publish that video right here on the Midas Touch Network, and millions of people will watch it as soon as it's done. But now we learn they don't want to do video. The letter goes on to say, committee Democrats welcome the opportunity to question Ms. Bondi on the record and seek answers about the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as the Department of Justice's ongoing failure to produce the Epstein files pursuant to this committee's subpoena to DOJ and the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We understand that you have agreed to hold this as a transcribed interview rather than a deposition. While we believe a deposition is the best available forum, as chairman, this is your decision. However, if you choose to move forward with a transcribed interview, I am concerned with three aspects. One, the videotaping of Miss Bondi's testimony. Miss Bondi's testimony must be filmed and made available to the American people. Damn right it must be filmed and available. This Trump regime, they use their state regime media, which calls itself Fox. They want to get out all their lies. Now sit under oath and answer damn questions or invoke the Fifth Amendment like the mob does, okay? Do what you want. Who said that? Number two, Miss Bondi's willingness to provide substantive and complete testimony. If Miss Bondi refuses to answer questions, we must compel her testimony. Miss Bondi has been subpoenaed and all questions posed by members must be answered. In other words, Bondi doesn't want to answer questions. Goes on to say, Harmy Dillon's participation as Miss Bondi's attorney. Miss Dillon is a current DOJ employee and her representation raises serious ethical concerns and conflicts of interest. A failure to film and release a video of Miss Bondi's testimony would present a grave injustice to the American people and survivors of Epstein crimes, all of whom are calling upon Congress for transparency. Filming and releasing a recording are critical to providing the public with an unvarnished, candid view of Miss Bondi's testimony and capturing aspects that a transcript simply cannot.
So today I am going to walk you through everything Howard Stern has been saying about Donald Trump in 2024, 2025, and 2026, plus everything that is happening in the country in the last 24 hours. By the end, you will see exactly why Donald Trump is panicking about Stern specifically and why every single voice that refuses to bend matters more right now than at any point in living memory. But before I take you in deeper, please, I have to talk to you directly, because what is happening to the press in this country right now is the most serious threat to a free media in our lifetimes. The FCC, chaired by Trump-appointed Brendan Carr, ordered Disney into emergency early renewal of all 8 ABC broadcast television station licenses last week, 6 years before those licenses were due. According to Senator Elizabeth Warren, direct quote sourced through NPR, the FCC has just pulled out a sword to hang over every single news organization in America. Stephen Colbert is gone in 17 days. Jimmy Kimmel is being threatened next. Trump publicly told Greg Gutfeld on Fox in 2024 that Colbert, Fallon, and Kimmel all have no talent. Trump just last week demanded NBC fire Fallon and Seth Meyers. Trump is using the FCC as a personal vengeance tool. The corporate networks are bending. ABC settled a $15 million defamation suit with Trump. Paramount paid Trump $16 million in a CBS settlement. Disney capitulated to the FCC for 6 days in September 2025. The institutional press is terrified, and they are coming for the next layer down. The independent voices, the YouTubers, the Substack writers, the channels exactly like ours. The reason I am asking you today to subscribe to America Facticity to join our $9 membership is because that $9 a month is the only thing that keeps independent journalism like ours genuinely free. We have no corporate parent. We have no Disney. We have no Paramount paying $16 million bribes for FCC merger approval. We have no advertisers we have to keep happy. We have no FCC license that the federal government can use as leverage. What we have is you, just you, member by member, $9 at a time. So if you have $9 a month, please hit the membership button right now.
You know, I haven't seen you since Trump got elected, oddly
Really?
enough. Yeah, I think
we've
been,
seen each
No,
other.
I don't think
Really?
since that. And, you know, obviously the show is very Trump-oriented
Yes.
when you do your thing
Yeah.
because it's what people are talking about. It's all anybody talks about.
Right.
It's almost like no other news is happening.
Well, he's the biggest news that's happening.
He's the biggest news. So I'm imagining, because I see it on my show, if I say anything slightly negative about Trump, slightly negative,
Yeah.
fans will call in and go, would you fucking stop talking about politics?
Right.
Would you cut the shit already? Everyone thinks in terms of either you're for Trump or against Trump. Now, with you being like so forcefully, your comedy is brutal
Yeah.
about Trump. He even calls you out about it.
Yeah.
Are you threatened at all? Do people get emotional with you? Do they start screaming at you if you go out to a restaurant?
No. I mean, let's be honest. I live in Manhattan, which
Right.
is a
liberal town.
yeah.
Right.
But also, I do feel like because we've been very open about what our show is,
Right.
I think if you love Donald Trump, you've probably chosen to disengage with the show.
Is most of the writing between the monologue and closer look, is that you doing most of the writing?
We have a monologue team, and then we have a head writer for a closer look, who's this really brilliant writer named Sal Gentile.
It must be an amazing day. I mean, the day has to start early.
Well, today, the next 3 days will be crazy because we can't write ahead of time. Like, there's going to be impeachment hearings all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Thursday.
Yeah, so what do you do?
We basically watch and write in real time.
Do you ever think like the President of the United States is going to try to get you?
I feel like he's angrier about SNL now than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's angry with you. He's tweeted about you.
He has, but not for a while. I think like he's angrier at SNL because I feel like to him, it's a betrayal.
Right, because he was on it.
Yeah.
Did you were there when he was on it, right?
First time, 2004.
Did you enjoy working with him?
I mean, it was fascinating to be around him.
Would he come into writing meetings?
No.
It's too big.
He was just he was everything you would think. He didn't have any sense of humor.
Right.
But if things worked, he liked them.
And by work, did you have to explain to him why they worked?
Yeah. And even then, it was when the audience responded. It's the same way he is in rallies now. It's
right.
He keeps saying build the wall because it worked.
Right. So in other words, you write a sketch for him. He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But he'd go out and dress, and all of a sudden, people are laughing.
Yeah. He's like, there's sometimes you have a host where a sketch bombs, but they love it. And they say, let's do it. It's so great. That's not him.
No, he wants to win.
Yeah,
outset, the South Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed to their news agency that a South Korean vessel was struck in the Strait of Hormuz. Its engine room on the port, the left side of the ship, on fire. Fortunately, no casualties there. Similarly, the United Arab Emirates confirmed that one of its ships associated with its ANDOC tankers, ANDOC, ANDOC, that's their big, state-run kind of oil company. Their tanker was hit as well. And Iran said that these ships were working with the U.S. in order to test Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran fired on those ships, blocked it. There are no ships leaving the Strait of Hormuz right now, and there's also no indication of any U.S. Navy activity in the Strait of Hormuz, but that port city of Fujairah is burning. Major escalation, and now we're going to see if the war with respect to open hostilities has resumed. As I mentioned, this followed Donald Trump making social media posts holding Uno cards, saying, I have all the cards, when the purpose of Uno is to have less cards. You had Donald Trump making social media posts about something called Project Freedom, which Trump described as U.S. Navy ships heading into the Strait of Hormuz. You had Professor Pape, very well-known professor here in the United States in international affairs. He said, look, Trump's announced escort of ships through Hormuz recalls the famous 1964 Tonkin Gulf incident, a manufactured pretext for the United States to massively escalate its military involvement in the Vietnam War, prepare for major escalation versus Iran.
And if you cannot do $9 a month, please share this video with one person. One single share is the difference between this video reaching 10,000 people and this video reaching 100,000. Now let me bring you the full story. Let me start where Howard Stern started. The Stern-Trump relationship goes back to the late 1980s. According to the TrumpOnStern.com archive, Donald Trump was a regular call-in guest. Stern attended Trump's events in Manhattan. Trump attended Stern's wedding to Beth Ostrowski in 2008. According to Stern himself in 2019, sourced through Yahoo's archived coverage, direct quote, "It's a weird relationship I have with Donald. Donald was at my wedding. I remember having very warm feelings towards Donald. He was always very nice to me. I've had dinner at Mar-a-Lago many times." And Stern was, in his own words, often the only host Trump trusted to give him a friendly venue. Trump confessed things to Howard Stern on the radio that he never confessed to anyone else. He talked about his daughter Ivanka in ways that have since haunted his political career. He rated women, including the actresses Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston, and the late Princess Diana, to Stern's audience. He bragged about his sex life. He made jokes about people he had defeated. He mentioned the very nice Russian gentleman who paid him $100 million. He invited Don Jr. and Ivanka onto the show as part of Apprentice promotion in 2006. He made the kinds of unguarded comments that, decades later, Howard Stern would reach into his own archive and pull out as evidence. Then came 2016. According to multiple media outlets, including Variety and The Hill, Stern declined to invite Trump onto the show during Trump's first presidential campaign. Stern told Trump's people that if Trump came on, Stern would be honest about him. And Stern did not want to embarrass an old friend on the air. This is exactly the moment Howard Stern stopped being a friend and became, in his own description, an honest broadcaster. According to the Yahoo archive cited above, Stern told Trump's team he would be supporting Hillary Clinton. Trump took it personally. Trump has been carrying that grudge ever since. According to the Daily Beast and Variety's reporting on Stern's 2024 series,
think she's going to just roll over the committee. No, the American people need to see this damn video. That's what we need to see. As you know, transcribed interview is purely a voluntary proceeding that enables the witness to decline to answer any question without specifying a valid ground for doing so. Indeed, you rejected the offers of Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton earlier this year to provide transcribed interviews rather than depositions to the committee precisely for this reason, emphasizing that a transcribed interview is voluntary, meaning that the subject may refuse to answer questions absent any assertion of privilege or constitutional right.
Stern told his audience, direct quote, "I don't agree with Trump politically. I don't think he should be anywhere near the White House. I don't hate the guy. I hate the people who vote for him. I think they're stupid. I do. I'll be honest with you, I have no respect for you." Read that one more time. Stern, on his own Sirius XM platform, told his listeners that he had no respect for the people who vote for Donald Trump, that those people were stupid, and that he was willing to lose half his listeners over it. That was 2024. Trump's response, on Truth Social and through his media surrogates, was the exact same playbook he uses on every critic. Stern had gone woke. Stern's ratings had dropped. Stern was a beta male. Stern should be canceled. According to Variety's September 2024 reporting, Trump told Greg Gutfeld on Fox News, direct quote, "Since he's gone woke, his ratings have gone down the tubes, and he sort of went anti-Trump for a couple of reasons. None of it landed." According to the same Variety reporting, Stern fired back on his own air, direct quote, "By the way, I kind of take that as a compliment, that I'm woke. I'll tell you how I feel about it. To me, the opposite of woke is being asleep. And if woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender or I'm for the vaccine, dude, call me woke as you fucking want. Then," direct quote sourced through Variety, "I'm not for stupidity, you know. I ran out Friday morning. I was over at CVS. Thank you, CVS. I went over there 9 a.m. and got myself that new vaccine for COVID. Fucking science. This fucking country is so great. I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it. I want to be awake. I want to read legitimate news sources. Here's how woke I am. I believe the election was not rigged. I am woke. I think that's a compliment. I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it." From Howard Stern on Sirius XM on the record about Donald Trump, about the people who vote for Donald Trump, about basic public health science, about the 2020 election. The country listened. Drop a comment below if this is hitting for you. One word: earned, brave, vindicated, whatever you feel. Every single comment helps the algorithm push this video further. And remember, please hit subscribe, smash like, and join our $9 membership.
All these tapes are out there, and they're still using them on a constant basis.
I think Iran interpreted it the same way. This morning, Donald Trump was making bizarre posts like this: "In a galaxy that demands strength, America stands ready. This is the way. May the 4th be with you." Some additional notes. U.S. CENTCOM this morning posted the following, and this preceded Iran doing its strikes. But when U.S. CENTCOM speaks, That's authority. I mean, and it better speak with clarity, especially in situations of war and peace. So CENTCOM posted the following early this morning. U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyers are currently operating in the Arabian Gulf after transiting the Strait of Hormuz in support of Project Freedom. American forces are actively assisting efforts to restore transit for commercial shipping. As a first step, 2 U.S.-flagged merchant vessels have successfully transited through the Strait of Hormuz and are safely headed on their journey. So maps and satellites don't lie. We were looking. Are we aware of any of these ships that went through the Strait of Hormuz? Were there ships that may have turned off their transponders that are now resurfacing outside the Strait of Hormuz? But CENTCOM was basically saying, we're heading in. And that's how Iran interpreted it, even though now we seem to know no ships have passed the Strait of Hormuz. We don't see any transponders turning off or back on or any activity like that at all. We do know that Iran is believed to have fired warning shots at U.S. naval ships that were getting close to the Strait of Hormuz, and apparently the U.S. naval ships didn't proceed any further. We do know what I said at the outset, that Iran did indeed strike the South Korean ship as well as the UAE ship. And here's what CENTCOM's posting again, and it pains me to say that CENTCOM has no credibility right now. I used to be like, look, you know, Trump's a liar. Everything out of the White House is propaganda and BS. But look, CENTCOM is at least...
That $9 is what keeps independent journalism alive at exactly the moment when independent journalism is under attack. Now stay with me, because the most devastating Stern testimony is the testimony about Trump's personal contempt for his own MAGA voters. According to IMDb's reporting on Stern's January 2025 SiriusXM monologue, sourced through the Daily Beast, Stern delivered the line that has now defined the entire MAGA voter betrayal narrative. Direct quote sourced through IMDb, Stern said, "The oddity in all of this is the people Trump despises most, love him the most. The people who are voting for Trump, for the most part. He wouldn't even let them in a fucking hotel. He'd be disgusted by them. Go to Mar-a-Lago, see if there's any people who look like you. I'm talking to you in the audience." Read that one more time. From Howard Stern. From the man who has personally been to Mar-a-Lago, in his own words, many times. From the man who has sat across from Donald Trump at private dinners. From the man who knows the actual social class of people Trump surrounds himself with. From a man with 30 years of recorded audio confirming exactly the kind of people Trump genuinely associates with. The rich, the famous, the connected, the people who rub elbows with the rich and famous. Direct quote sourced through IMDb, Stern said, "One thing Donald loves is celebrities. He loves the famous. He loves it. The people Trump despises most love him the most. The people he wouldn't let in his hotel are the people voting for him. The people he'd be disgusted by are the people getting laid off when Spirit Airlines collapses because of his Iran war. The people he treats as a campaign tool every 4 years are the people who lost their jobs Saturday morning." That is Howard Stern. From inside the relationship, with 3 decades of personal experience, telling the country exactly what Donald Trump is. And in May 2026, after Spirit Airlines workers found out about losing their jobs through media reports, after Marjorie Taylor Greene declared MAGA dead and called it a cult, after Mary Trump described her uncle's apparent dementia signs, after Robert De Niro called Trump the enemy of this country, Howard Stern's testimony from inside the friendship lands harder than ever, and the contractual context matters here too.
And I had to go in for surgery. And I was freaking out. I go, this can't be. And they had told me it was 95% chance it was cancer. And it turned out not to be cancer. It was like a miracle for me.
So when it passes, did you have that old Winston Churchill feeling of nothing being more exhilarating than being shot at and missed?
Yeah, well, that's why I think I also wrote this book. It all of a sudden brought me to some kind of reality. You're not going to live forever. And what am I most proud of? What do I want my children to see? What do I want? And these interviews and what I've written here represents to me the best of me.
The best, but he does not shy away from the worst of himself either. Like I said, he talked about his past books. He said he can't even look at them anymore. Wow. And he also opens up about what he considered his worst interview ever, and that is revealing as well. We're going to talk about that in our next hour.
And you also have an extended version on Nightline.
Nightline and Hulu. Hulu are going to play basically the whole interview.
What? Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. He doesn't hold back. We see that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Being responsible with its social media posts, and they're giving accurate No, they're not. Here's what CENTCOM posted. Claim. Iranian state media claims that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps hit a U.S. warship with 2 missiles. Truth. No U.S. Navy ships have been struck. U.S. forces are supporting Project Freedom and enforcing the naval blockade on Iranian ports. And by the way, Iran never said they hit 2 U.S. Navy ships, nor did they say the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps did it. What they did say is that their Army and Navy, which is different. We have to use the correct language. What's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? What's the Iranian Army Navy? What they did said is that their Army Navy sent warning shots, which is true, not that we hit 2 U.S. naval ships. And then they said that they did indeed strike a South Korean ship and a UAE ship, which has been demonstrated to be accurate. Now the UAE is warning its citizens to hide and run and shelter in place and to find a safe place. This is the first time since the ceasefire began where a message like that has come out. By the way, we have the audio right here of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and this time declaring the Strait of Hormuz closed. Let's just show you what this audio says right here. Let's play this clip.
That the failure of the United States government to fulfill its commitment in the negotiations, the Islamic Republic of Iran declares the Strait of Hormuz completely closed again. No vessel of any type or nationality is allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Any vessel intending to exit the Strait of Hormuz that cross the red line between Sengam Island and Mina Sagat Port, and any vessel intending to enter the Strait of Hormuz that cross the red line between Kuf Mubarak and Fujairah Port will be met with a severe response from the IRGC Navy and will be destroyed. This is Sepah Navy. Out.
According to CNN Business December 2025 reporting, in early August 2025, when the U.S. Sun ran a thinly sourced story claiming SiriusXM was about to fire Stern over his anti-Trump politics, Donald Trump went on Real America's Voice with Brian Glenn and gleefully proclaimed that Stern was about to be fired. Direct quote sourced through Deadline and Yahoo. Trump told Glenn, "Howard Stern is a name I haven't heard. I used to do his show. We used to have fun, but I haven't heard that name in a long time." What happened? He got terminated? Then Trump claimed Stern's show went down after Stern endorsed Hillary Clinton. Then SiriusXM stayed silent for a few months. Then, on December 16, 2025, according to CNN Business, Stern signed a new SiriusXM contract. The U.S. Sun story was wrong. The Trump killed Stern's career narrative was wrong. Stern is back. Stern is staying. And Stern's renewed contract, terms not publicly disclosed, was, according to CNN Business coverage, designed by SiriusXM to keep Stern doing exactly what he has been doing, including telling the country that Donald Trump despises his own MAGA voters. Now let me bring you to Stern's most devastating sustained testimony. Because this is the testimony that, in 2026, with the Epstein files still buried, with Marjorie Taylor Greene's testimony that Trump said his friends will get hurt if the files came out, with Robert De Niro calling Trump's circle the Epstein class buddies at the No Kings rally, this testimony lands very, very differently than it did in 2017 when Stern first started saying it. According to multiple media reports cited across Variety, The Hill, The Daily Beast, and CNN, Stern said in 2024 that he believes Trump should step down. Stern has been calling for Trump's resignation. He has been asking publicly why Trump even wants the job. According to Yahoo's archived 2019 reporting, Stern said, direct quote, "I couldn't even believe that Donald really even wanted this all to work out for him, because if you go to Mar-a-Lago, it's like a piece of heaven. I remember thinking, why would a guy want to leave this place? Golf every day, you know, I don't think he wants that life. Why would he want to leave Mar-a-Lago to be president?" That is Howard Stern asking the question every American should be asking, from inside the friendship. I want to take a quick break here. Because if you are still with me, you understand why this work matters. Subscribe to America Facticity if you have not. Hit the bell. Join our $9 membership. The pressure on independent journalism is intensifying. The corporate networks are bending. The FCC is closing in. We are not bending, as long as you keep showing up. Now let me bring you the latest Trump news from the last 24 hours, because today, May 4th, 2026, is one of the most consequential days of the entire second term so far. Today, Monday, May 4th, 2026. According to CNN's live updates, the U.S. military has officially launched what the Pentagon calls Project Freedom, a 15,000 service member operation in the Strait of Hormuz to guide stranded ships through the closed waterway. 2 American-flagged merchant ships have, according to the U.S. military, successfully transited through the strait today. Iran has called the operation a violation of the ceasefire. Iran's National Security Commission head Ebrahim Azizi posted yesterday, direct quote sourced through CNN, the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned the United States today that there is no military solution to a political crisis. The UAE has reported that Iran fired missiles and drones at the major oil port in Fujairah.
And you believe if she had done that, she'd be president?
That's an arrogant statement. And, to sit here and cavalierly say, yes, she would have been president. No. But look at the Electoral College and look at that. It came down to a couple of states. And it was
70,000 votes.
70,000 votes. On SiriusXM, we have 33 million subscribers, and we calculate that at a minimum, per subscription, there are 2 people listening per family. Let's say there's 66 million people. They tell me 60% of Sirius's audience listening to me. Out of that audience, if Hillary had come on, in the same way that Lady Gaga came on, or Gwyneth Paltrow, or Rosie O'Donnell, and guys call me afterwards, man, I never liked Lady Gaga, but I just heard her talking. I'm going to her concert. These are hardcore dudes who don't get sometimes. They're too caught up in that she's a woman, or I look like a wuss if I'm listening to this. If Hillary could have come in and maybe persuaded 70,000 people out of those millions of people that listen and come off in such a way, maybe we'd be looking at a different scenario.
Now, Stern and Trump, not as close as they used to be.
The turning point in my relationship with Donald was he did ask me to speak at the convention, and I had to say no. And
were you tempted at all?
Well, since I was a Hillary supporter, for a minute I thought, well, I'll go up and endorse Hillary, which would have been a great moment.
You wish you would have done that now?
No, I wouldn't do that to Donald. It's a weird relationship I have with Donald. Was at my wedding. I remember having very warm feelings for Donald, and I do. I mean, he was always very nice to me. I've had dinner at Mar-a-Lago many times. And that's why I couldn't even believe that Donald really even wanted this all to work out for him. Because if you go to Mar-a-Lago, it's like a piece of heaven. It's a beautiful place. And I would go there to eat dinner with my wife. And by the way, I was never comped. I paid. So we weren't that good of friends. And I remember thinking, why would a guy want to leave this? He plays golf every day. I don't think he wants that life.
But you don't want him to be president, but you can't help like him?
Well, I have a real problem. As you can tell, if I was a Hillary Clinton supporter, you can tell I have a real problem with what's going on. So I'm very conflicted now. The guy I knew I didn't know this was him. I don't believe his stance on abortion, for example. The Donald I know, I think he probably needed to get a few people abortions. I don't know what he's doing. The stance on abortion, the women don't have the right to choose what they, you don't have to get an abortion. But if you want the right, I remember the days of women in the back alleys with coat hangers. That's not acceptable. And you know who used to be able to get abortions? Rich people. They could get them. And so, let's face it. It is really unthinkable to me about what's going on in the country right now.
Howard doesn't like to think about his previous books either. The new one, inspired by a health scare he kept secret from his listeners.
I had been diagnosed with kidney cancer.
We also have footage from Iran firing its missiles today. This was released through Iran's state media. I'll show you this right here. You can see some of the missiles being fired. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was on the morning shows. And again, just spewing lie after lie after lie. So you have Bessent saying that, look, we're controlling the Strait of Hormuz. We're calling on China to come and help us. China and the U.S. are going to form a strong alliance in the Strait of Hormuz. Dude, what are you talking about? China's not your ally in this. I know that Donald Trump thinks that Xi Jinping loves him. Xi Jinping is laughing at all of you right now. Do you see what's actually happening? Watch what Bessent says here. This is from this morning. Play this clip.
Attacks from Iran has closed the strait. We are reopening it. So I would urge the Chinese to join us in supporting this international operation. There are things moving through the UN that China and Russia have blocked. So, if they want to be good global citizens, join at the UN.
When this summit was originally scheduled, we were not at war with Iran, and now we are, and it was punted about a month's time. What would be your expectation from a summit in Beijing next week?
I think the expectation is it will be a chance for President Trump and Xi Jinping to exchange views in person. The strength of the relationship is the relationship between the two leaders. In Busan, South Korea, in October, we established a consensus, and the Vice Premier, Ho Li-Feng, and I are charged with implementing that on the economic side. The Secretary Rubio and their Foreign Secretary, on the political side. So I think we would push forward the consensus from Korea and also keep the relationship stable. We've had great stability in the relationship. And again, that comes from the two leaders having great respect for each other.
If I could ask.
And then Bessent's like, the Iranians are believing their own propaganda. They're all in bunkers. They're all the leadership. They're in bunkers. They're not. No, they're not. They're not in bunkers. Okay. They're out and about. We see them. We know who they are. I know who their parliament leader. I know their leadership structure around the Ayatollah. I know their foreign minister. I know their negotiating team. Frankly, I see them more than Trump regime officials.
Several commercial ships, including a South Korean vessel, have been hit since Project Freedom launched. Maritime insurers are unlikely to underwrite voyages through the Strait. Oil prices are continuing to climb. Brent crude topped $114 per barrel today. Gas prices in the United States, according to AAA data CNN published today, hit $4.46 per gallon, the highest level in nearly 4 years. According to one oil market expert quoted by CNN, gas prices could reach $5 a gallon if the Strait remains closed. That is the cost of Trump's Iran war on every American family at every gas pump in every state in the country. And while gas prices were hitting their highest level in 4 years, Trump was at a small business event in the East Room of the White House complaining about his polling. Direct quote sourced through CNN's live updates from this morning. Trump told the room, "They give me fake polls. They did a poll on the war with Iran, and they said only 32% of people like it. Well, I don't like it, and I don't like war at all. But we're equipped better, and we have the greatest military in the world. They give me fake polls." From the President of the United States, about a 32% Iran war approval. About the war his own administration started, Trump's approval rating is now at 34%, according to the latest Pew Research poll. According to NPR's reporting today, Republicans are openly admitting the economic impact of the war is weighing on Trump politically. Republicans want the war to end. House Republicans are scrambling to redraw congressional maps before the midterms after the Supreme Court weakened the Voting Rights Act last week. According to NPR's analysis, election-denying candidates are running for positions in 23 states that will directly impact the certification of future elections. The 2026 midterms are 6 months away. The MAGA coalition is fracturing. Marjorie Taylor Greene declared MAGA dead at the Ron Paul Institute. Robert De Niro is leading the May Day economic blackout. Stephen Colbert is 17 days from his final Late Show broadcast. Jimmy Kimmel is under direct FCC threat. Howard Stern is on Sirius XM with a new contract telling 20 million daily listeners that Trump despises his own voters. According to the Associated Press today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is traveling to Rome and Vatican City this week to try to ease rising tensions between the Trump administration and Pope Leo over U.S. policies, particularly the Iran war. Rubio is a devout Catholic. Pope Leo, the first American pope, has been publicly critical of the Iran war. Trump has attacked the Pope on Truth Social. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has defended the Pope and been called unacceptable by Trump. The U.S.-Italy relationship is at its lowest point in modern memory. The U.S.-Vatican relationship is at its lowest point since the modern American papacy began. In other major news today, according to NPR and The Washington Post, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is hospitalized in critical but stable condition. Giuliani, age 81, is Trump's longtime personal lawyer and the man who led Trump's 2020 election overturn campaign. The hospitalization was confirmed by Giuliani's spokesperson, Ted Goodman. Details have not been released. According to The Hill's coverage, Trump has not yet publicly commented on Giuliani's hospitalization. The Pentagon today, according to American Legion's reporting, announced AI deals with 7 major tech companies: Google, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, NVIDIA, OpenAI, Reflection, and SpaceX to use their AI in classified military computer networks. Notably absent from the list, according to American Legion, is Anthropic, after the AI company's public dispute and legal fight with the Trump administration over the ethics and safety of AI usage in war.
Cut off international freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. is opening that up. This is a humanitarian effort. I can tell you, 2 weeks ago was IMF World Bank Week in Washington, and I had numerous countries come up to me, some of the poorest, some of the most vulnerable, and ask us to do this because it's not only energy that's in there, it's fertilizer, it's food transport, it's LPG for the more than the billion plus people in India.
Contrary to appearances, that her engagement raises troubling ethical concerns. In that case, there would be a clear conflict of interest between Ms. Dillon's duties to the DOJ and to Ms. Bondi's individually. Such an engagement would also quite clearly violate DOJ policy, which provides unambiguously that absent a waiver by the Deputy Attorney General on specific grounds, no employee may engage in the practice of law unless it is uncompensated and in the nature of community service, unless it is on behalf of himself, his parents, spouse, or children. By no reasonable interpretation does Assistant Attorney General Dillon's representation of Bondi in this matter fall within these limitations. In the interest of ensuring that Ms. Bondi provides truthful and complete answers to the numerous outstanding and urgent factual questions surrounding Epstein and Maxwell, as well as providing a complete transparent window into her testimony, I urge you to ensure that Ms. Bondi's testimony is consistent with her obligations under the committee's subpoena and film the proceeding. The demands of justice transparency for Jeffrey Epstein survivors require no less.
European leaders, according to American Legion's reporting today, are publicly saying Trump's snap decision to pull thousands of U.S. troops out of Germany came as a surprise but is a fresh sign that Europe must take care of its own security. Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, direct quote sourced through American Legion, said, "I wouldn't exaggerate that because I think we are expecting that Europe is taking more charge of its own security." Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has warned the NATO alliance faces disintegration. Germany is bracing for further withdrawals. Spain may be suspended from NATO. Ukraine's Patriot air defense systems are being delayed. Vladimir Putin is watching every single development with growing satisfaction. And in the middle of all of this, Howard Stern is on Sirius XM with his new contract, with his 30 years of Trump audio, with his 20 million daily listeners, with his refusal to back down, with his "I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it" line, with his testimony that Trump despises his own MAGA voters, with his repeated public calls for Trump to step down, with his refusal to let Donald Trump rewrite the relationship between them. I want to take one more break, because if you have made it this far, please subscribe to America Facticity. Hit the bell, join our $9 membership. Howard Stern is one of the few voices Trump cannot easily silence. He has $500 million in contract with SiriusXM. He has 30 years of recorded Trump audio. He has the receipts. The corporate networks are bending. Stephen Colbert is gone in 17 days. Jimmy Kimmel is being threatened next. Independent journalism is the firewall. We are not bending. We will not bend as long as you keep showing up. Now let me close this out. Listen, the lesson of Howard Stern's last decade is the same lesson we keep learning from every brave voice on this channel. Authoritarian power is built on the assumption that everyone will self-censor, that the celebrities will go quiet, that the radio hosts will play it safe to keep their contracts, that the comedians will stop making jokes to keep their networks safe, that the broadcasters will preemptively pull their critical voices, that the corporate parents will make business decisions that look like financial necessity but feel a lot like political surrender. And one by one, every single one of those assumptions is being broken in 2026. Howard Stern refuses to bend. With with $500 million in contract, with 20 million daily listeners, with 3 decades of personal Trump audio, with the absolute clarity of someone who has been inside the friendship and saw the full picture. Stephen Colbert refuses to bend in his final weeks, calling the $16 million Paramount settlement a big fat bribe, sending Kimmel a literal box of Iran war jokes, telling the New York Times Trump is a complete narcissist who does not appear to care if the entire world burns. Jimmy Kimmel refuses to bend under direct FCC pressure, calling Trump Fat John Wick and Rambo and Dumbo at the same time, catching Trump making a death joke about himself the day after demanding Kimmel be fired for the same kind of joke. Robert De Niro refuses to bend at age 82, leading a nationwide May-Day economic blackout. Marjorie Taylor Greene refuses to bend, declaring MAGA dead at the Ron Paul Institute, telling former believers to leave the cult. Mary Trump refuses to bend. Whoopi Goldberg refuses to bend. Bill Maher refuses to bend. Wab Kinew refuses to bend. King Charles refuses to bend. The chairman of the Senate and House Armed Services Committees refuse to bend. Pope Leo refuses to bend. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk refuses to bend. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz.
Wait a second. If I do
Send these messages on Truth Social. Anyway, here, let's play this clip so you can see for yourself.
Let's talk big picture. Back on September 20th, President Trump publicly posted a private message to then Attorney General Pam Bondi, pressuring her to prosecute Senator Adam Schiff, James Comey, and Letitia James, writing, quote, "They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. They impeached me twice. They indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." Why should the public believe that any case brought against the individuals listed there is an independent law enforcement decision and not retribution?
Well, because you have investigations and you have indictments and you have the result. I mean, listen, if years later you're judged by a simple note from President Trump, by the way, that wasn't a private message. That was a message delivered to the entire world.
Right.
And so this is not being done behind closed doors.
But it was meant to be private initially, based on
How
my
do you know it was meant to be
conversations.
private?
Based on my conversations, it was meant to
Well,
be
I'm not
with
aware of
top
those conversations, but
administration officials. It was meant to be private and posted by mistake.
President Trump is very clear with the American people what he expects as president of the United States. That is not something he hides from the American people. He wants justice. He wants full investigations where appropriate. And by the way, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Everybody in this country should want that. And so, no, I don't operate based upon concern or fear. The American people will know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it.
And yet,
And then we should take Todd Blanche's deposition. Scott McFarlane at the Midas Touch Network caught up with Massey last week, a Republican Congress member. Here's what Massey told him. Let's play this clip.
What's going to happen next? You're trying to get Pam Bondi in here.
Yeah, I can also go find her. You know, the guy that's pulling the levers is now the guy in the hot seat, which is Todd Blanche. I don't think she was ever in the loop.
Coupled with strong voice that tells the truth without an FCC license to lose, we refuse to bend. That is the work. That is the resistance. That is what an actually free press looks like when the pressure is on. The corporate networks are bending. They settled. They canceled Colbert. They tried to fire Kimmel. They are facing FCC license reviews. The institutional press is terrified. But independent journalism, funded by you, accountable only to you, working only for the truth, is the firewall. We are louder than we have ever been. We are more accurate than we have ever been. We are more multi-sourced than we have ever been. And the only reason we are still here doing this every single day is because of you, because of every $9 membership, because of every share, because of every comment, because of every subscription. Stephen Colbert is gone on May 21st. That is 17 days from today. After that night, broadcast television in America will have lost its longest-running, sharpest, most fearless late-night critic of the President of the United States. The next voice on the chopping block is Jimmy Kimmel. The FCC is right now reviewing Disney's broadcast licenses. The Trump White House is publicly demanding ABC fire him. Brendan Carr is openly using his federal position as personal vengeance against critical voices. The pattern is the pattern. They want to silence every voice that holds the president accountable. They want to leave only the voices that bend the knee. Independent journalism, funded by you, accountable only to you, is the only firewall. And every single $9 membership matters more right now than at any moment in the history of this country. Before I let you go, please, one more time, subscribe to America Facticity if you have not already. Hit the bell. Join our membership for $9 a month. That $9 is what keeps independent journalism alive at exactly the moment when independent journalism is under attack. Share this video with one person who needs to see what Howard Stern has been saying about Donald Trump for 30 years. One person, one conversation, one $9 membership. Comment below with your favorite Howard Stern Trump moment. Was it Stern saying he hates Trump voters and calling them stupid? Was it I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it? Was it Stern saying the people Trump despises most love him the most? Was it Stern's, I couldn't even believe that Donald really even wanted this all to work out for him because if you go to Mar-a-Lago, it's like a piece of heaven? Was it Stern signing the new Sirius XM contract in December 2025 to prove Trump wrong about him being canceled? Was it Trump calling Stern a beta male on Truth Social over his Kamala Harris interview? Was it the resurfaced 1990s Stern audio amid the Epstein fallout? Tell me. I read every single comment, and every comment helps this video reach more people who deserve to know what Howard Stern, after 30 years inside the friendship, has been telling the country about Donald Trump. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of America Facticity. Thank you for paying attention when paying attention is so much harder than looking away. Thank you for funding the journalism that the corporate networks will not fund. Thank you for being the reason independent voices like ours can keep speaking the truth. Stay safe, stay informed, stay vigilant. I will see you in